Atlantic. Rhode Island welcomed me with constant rain. Yet again, US 6 was closed to bicycles, and I had to find an alternate route. It was annoying to navigate, since I would have to find cover to take my phone out and look at the map. I was completely lost in this unfamiliar metropolitan area. I stumbled my way to downtown Providence as the rain relentlessly poured harder. I stopped in a Dunkin' to take my first of many relief breaks, using coffee and donuts to ease my mind. I thought I could memorize my route to the host home, but I found my memory continued to fail me. Due to the lack of street signs, I completely missed a turn and wandered all over downtown in search of a way to get east and grab the bike route. I eventually ran into a steep hill that I avoided intentionally because I knew it couldn't be my street. I had no motivation left to climb it. It had been raining for at least 3 hours and would not stop until the next morning. I walked my bike and dragged my feet up the short mountain in despair. I was exhausted from being beaten down by the rain and constantly lost. This was one of those days that made me dig deep inside myself to find the energy to finish. I was questioning if the whole trip was even worth it, or why I don't just spend my money on a hotel and call it a day. I had to pee badly, so I parked my bike against a building and went behind a tree right off the sidewalk. It was risky, but hey, it's not like a business in the city would let someone like me come inside to use the bathroom without buying something. By living on my bike, I've started to view everything in a practical sense. The rain is a distraction to the public to maybe forget that a dirty man is pissing behind a tree. My host called me to ensure everything was okay, and I told him I was running a bit late. The difficulty of navigating in the rain was more complicated than I had anticipated. He wouldn't be home and left the back door open for me to let myself in. I trudged the remaining 5 miles into the suburbs and finally found his house. I haphazardly parked my bike in his garage full of outdoor equipment. I slowly and strategically unloaded my bags inside the porch area. I took my wet clothes off without getting everything in the vicinity wet. The bathroom/laundry room was next to the back door, and I basically dove into it. I threw all my stuff in the dryer and crawled into the shower as my body shook from finally being in the warmth. The shower had a beautiful brass handle and an on-off switch for the water that was separated from the temperature control. I took a steamy rinse and felt revitalized. Another heavenly shower experience in the books. After a couple hours, my host came home and we got to know each other. His name was Scout, and he traveled the world for work. He showed me the Brompton folding bike he takes with him when he travels. He said that it folded up into the size of a checked bag and was a great travel partner. He cooked a big pot of vegetarian chili, and it warmed my soul. He mentioned that he and his son were leaving to hike in the White Mountains the next day and invited me to join them. That sounded like an incredible opportunity, but I was dead set on getting to Boston to visit Stefan. I humbly declined, and we all got into bed early. I was immensely thankful for Scout's trust and generosity. It's mind-blowing to meet such kind people and connecting through this beautiful art of cycling. I woke up the next day to a rusty bike chain that required some tender loving care and a liberal amount of grease to come back to life. All my bags were covered in dirt and debris from the rainy day, but at least the weather was sunny and clear now. I started riding north out of the neighborhood, and within a few minutes found myself crossing the Massachusetts state line. An unexpected start of the day. I figured it would have at least felt longer than Delaware to cross Rhode Island. I admired the old towns and beautifully crafted buildings as I rode through another historic countryside. I pondered the price paid to create all that I know as America. A huge price indeed, with the lives of natives and slaves. Thousands of years of civilization existed here before capitalism and before Christians decided their way of life was the most important. Our modern society only thrives on the exploitation of cheap labor and global trade. I arrived in Boston around 4 p.m. with no rain and felt like I'd won the lottery. I called Stefan and asked if I could meet him somewhere near where he was staying. He invited me into his small apartment and introduced me to his family. I was honored to visit them all. His wife held their newborn, and his mother was there from out of town. Stefan kept an apartment in Boston because he travels the world as a translator. His wife was originally from Russia. They met while traveling in Europe, and his mother is a German native. They were excited about starting their family, and I was intrigued to learn about their diverse backgrounds. Stefan wanted to show me the neighborhood, so I followed him gladly for an afternoon adventure. He talked about the history of immigration there and took me to a bar that had something like 100 beers from around the world. Over a beer, I learned more about his profession. He speaks 7 languages and travels worldwide to translate for the government. We discussed how vital exposure to other cultures is and how it opens up your perspective. We shared about our own adventures and debated life quality versus annual salaries. We really had kindred spirits in a lot of ways. We ended up at a thrift store he frequented and conversed about how buying used goods makes sense, because there's so much waste in the world. He said there was a baby washing basin he saw the other day and wanted to search for it. We each dug through the large, unorganized pile looking for the basin and had no luck. We had almost given up when I spotted something pink and plastic hidden beneath all of the random canes and desk chairs. Behold! I ripped out the baby basin from the sorcerer's stone. Stefan had the biggest smile, and I felt accomplished. He also bought a set of wooden kitchen table chairs, and we delivered them back to his place. Thrifting hasn't been this fun for me in ages. He wanted to leave me with some treats, so we stopped at a local Russian grocery. He kept throwing random stuff in the basket, and I told him I was down to try whatever he thinks is good. He got me a dark imperial stout and a massive chocolate ball. I appreciated his company and willingness to show me around. It's fun to rub shoulders with the locals and experience Boston from the ground level. I enjoyed that couple of hours with Stefan, and now I was off to find where I would sleep for the night. I had planned to camp in a yurt that night on a publicly serviced island off the coast. Unfortunately, oceanic storms rolled in, making the island conditions too dangerous. The city wasn't running ferries to the island that week. I had already put out some feelers on Facebook to find a place, and I didn't hear anything until I was with Stefan. Michael, from South Carolina, had linked me with one of his old Marines buddies, Reggie, so I headed to his place. They lived only a few miles away in a hip downtown townhome. When I arrived, they all seemed really amped and told me we were all going to hit the town and party. Red flag. Reggie's roommate was a salesman for some tech startup, and he was talking my ear off about his product and explaining how his commission works. He was preparing to make tons of money with this company. I was exhausted and uninterested in his formula of success. I had no interest in leaving the house, yet this group of friends was dead set on a late-night party extravaganza. It was about 8 p.m., and we first stopped at a woman's house so they could buy weed. They invited her to go out with us. We kicked it at her house for a while, and I felt like my stomach might tear open. I was so hungry. I hadn't eaten since noon. I asked if we could get dinner before drinking, and we hit this random bar for a veggie burger and gorgonzola fries. We picked up another one of their friends before ending back at Reggie's so everyone could get dressed to hit a dance club. I was losing my energy fast, but I was down to try and tag along with my host. It seemed that he was uncomfortable to let me stay there by myself. Things got weird fast. It was past 11 p.m., and the salesman dude came up to me and offered a hit of cocaine. Fuck no, man. It made me angry because I knew I would have to interact with him while he was even more amped up. He was just too much for me. I was only trying to survive until everyone else fell asleep. We went to the dance club and hung out till it closed at 2 a.m. We ended up at the woman's house afterwards, and I fell asleep in her beanbag chair. They abruptly woke me up, saying, "Dude, the Uber's here. We gotta go." We Ubered back to Reggie's house around 4 a.m. I slept until 8 and got the hell out of there. I was grateful for their hospitality on such short notice, but damn, that is a lifestyle my body cannot handle. I remembered Stefan's wife had mentioned that the Boston Sail Festival was happening in the harbor. I couldn't miss that before skipping town. It was a sunny and clear morning, so the light was glimmering off the sea, and the ships were picturesque. 10 to 12 boats were parked in the harbor, and they varied in size. Most had masts 50 feet or taller. I couldn't imagine what it was like to raise and lower each sail or to steer in the correct direction. Such a foreign concept to me. Their wooden bodies were carved with ornate designs and painted with color. They waved beautifully colorful flags as well. It felt like a montage out of The Count of Monte Cristo. Seeing those boats in person is very impressive. You instantly understand how hard it would be to navigate these vessels and manage a crew to a successful voyage. The morning hunger started to kick in, and I got out the chocolate ball that Stefan gifted me to boost my energy. This thing was a total gut bomb and extremely rich. It was like eating a double chocolate cake the size of an apple. 4 hours of sleep wasn't sticking on me very well as I moseyed around the harbor. I reflected on the stark contrast of my experiences in the last few days. It's bizarre to come in contact with so many different kinds of people. It's like a culture shock every day. I'm trying to appreciate all the situations I find myself in and find the good in all the people I meet. To be frustrated at partiers or thankful for people kinder than I. I'm learning how to exude tolerance and discover who I am and what's important to me. I'm naturally a very empathetic and adaptable person. Still, in some ways, I may use that as a cop-out to avoid who I am and what I believe in. Am I growing up?